A new man in charge of the country's purse strings, Enoch Godongwana, will replace Tito Mboweni as finance minister. This all happened last night. If you just woke up, the whole cabinet is very, very different. He comes in at a time when the country is desperate to grow its limping economy, curb debt levels, and also try and create jobs. So eNCA's Devan Murugan, he's eNCA's business editor, joining us for more on this now. Hello to you, Devan. So if we take a look now at what has been happening, it's not like he has a small task ahead of him, the new finance minister. There's quite a lot for him to be doing. So demands of credibility, investors going to look our way as well. Will he fit the position? I suppose one has to ask.
It's a critical position. One would argue every single minister is a critical one. But, I mean, we are going through a time where we need to bring this economy up at the moment. We've got low growth levels, unemployment levels are indeed not what it should be like. So let's take a quick look to see what's the background like of Enoch Godongwana. He is the chief person for the ANC's economic policy. And what that means is that he crafts the ruling party's policy. So a plenty amount of experience there. The next point I'd like to talk about is that he has a labor union experience. He was NUMSA Secretary General, or General Secretary as it is known in the country, in 1994. So he's got some labor movement background. He also occupied some finance positions previously. He was the Eastern Cape Finance MEC, and that was before he also took positions as the Deputy Minister of the Public Enterprises Department, also a Deputy Minister in the Eastern, or rather the Economic Development Department. So you have Enoch Godongwana here, who has got a firm grip on economic policy of the ruling party, and government. It looks like the initial reaction has actually been quite good for this finance minister.
Yeah, I won't look at the business community. Devan, how have they reacted?
Look, the initial reaction has been positive. Markets haven't opened up as yet, but we haven't seen the rand go haywire. What we do know is that as far as the fraternity is concerned, indeed, he's been given the thumbs up, certainly from Business Unity South Africa. They do see Enoch Godongwana as someone who will keep the economic policy trajectory very similar to that of his incumbent, Tito Mboweni. In fact, if you look at what Enoch Godongwana had pointed to from a business perspective, it was very, very similar in terms of having that, spend less, don't tax the economy out, or tax South Africans out of the economy. Let's take a quick listen to how business really feels about what sort of investment reaction will be elicited from this placement of Enoch Godongwana. Here's Busa's Cascovadia.
I think in some of the critical ministries, finance in particular, I think Enoch Godongwana is a good appointment. He's been heading up the ANC's National Transformation Committee for quite some time. He's was quite skilled in finance. I think somebody we can work with and somebody who will instill confidence. I think Dr. Joe Bachla in health, he's a medical doctor. He's been deputy minister, and I think he'll do a good job. I think human settlement appointment is a good one with Minister Kubai, who's done very well as acting Minister of Health. Water and Sanitation, Senzo, I think is also a solid appointment. So I think those are good appointments. I think that will instill confidence. I think those are all capable people. I think certainly business can work with.
All right, so obviously we're all going to be watching investors, we're going to be watching markets, which will open up a little bit later. Devan, what about the, as far as the approach to growing the economy and creating jobs? Because that's going to be the one and only question that people are going to want from the new finance minister.
And when investors look at a placement of such a position, Gareth, what they actually want is limited movements or uncertainty on policy. So far, as I said before, it doesn't look like Enoch Godongwana is bringing some sort of policy approach that is vastly different from Tito Mboweni. So that's a good sign. In fact, what's very interesting is that in the lead-up to this, this cabinet reshuffle and his placement, Enoch Godongwana actually writing a lengthy piece in the Business Day about 2 weeks ago, and that narrative, that tone, very similar to that of the Treasury. You know, as I mentioned before, what he wants is not to tax South Africans into a better economy. Do not spend. So he's got a conservative approach in that regard. And if you look at his general approach again, not very far from what the finance minister had wanted for the economic recovery plan. He says youth jobs, for example, are the pinnacle and most important part. He spoke about the income support grant in that particular piece that he wrote for the Business Day, saying there that at some point in time, grants should only be temporary. They cannot replace the jobs of young people in the country. So overall, Garrett, I do think that there's not going to be any ruffles in terms of him providing a brand new approach to the economic direction of the country. That in itself brings some sort of certainty.
It does, but also going to have to try and at least create some jobs where they can.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of work to be done there, especially because, as Ralph Mateja was mentioning, Gareth, that there seemed to be some, dissatisfaction from Tito Mboweni, hence he resigned, partly part of the reason, probably, because there was a lack of political will to implement some of those policies. But we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Devan Murugan, for this business update.